Hello guys, welcome to another sellerboard demo video. Today I'm going to present you the inventory planner, which is a tool by sellerboard that can help you step up your inventory game. First of all, it will tell you when you are about to run out of stock for a specific product. Then, when is a good time to make a new order for a specific product. And also, what is a good amount of products to reorder, so basically the quantity for reordering. Additionally to that, sellerboard makes a forecast based on the adjusted sales velocity for your products. And this is a metric that reflects how many products you're selling per day. You can also account for seasonality, organic growth, and adjusted weight, which is basically the importance of sales history throughout different periods of time. I will get into all of these details in the demo. Let's jump right in. You can access your inventory planner by clicking on the Inventory tab in the menu on the left, expand it, and then click Planner. The inventory planner contains two main sections. The upper one will grant you info on an account level regarding your stock levels in different channels. So in the FBA warehouse and the FBM warehouse, the prep stock information, the ordered units, and a total valuation of all of the stock levels together in all channels. Here you are presented with info in units, in cost of goods, in potential sales, and potential profit. Besides that, you have the option to filter out info in the inventory planner by product. Again, choose whether you want to see the FBA info or FBM or together, your marketplaces that you are interested in analyzing right now, whether you want to see or not the units that are out of stock. So taking these settings into account, let's analyze the lower part of the inventory planner, which grants you info on a product level regarding your stock levels. The first one is your FBA or FBM stock level. So this is info that we pulled through API from the Amazon Seller Central. And if you click on this information, then you will be presented with a historical graph representation of how your FBA stock evolved over time. On the left, you will see all the main metrics presented in the table. You can fine-tune this chart by analyzing whether you want to see the stock levels and the sales together, or just the stock, or maybe just the sales. The next thing that we have is the reserved column. This column shows you how many units are in the FBA warehouse but are actually reserved for some reason. Maybe they're on the way to another FBA warehouse, or they are reserved for specific orders that haven't been shipped out yet. Then you have your stock valuation on the product level. You have your sales velocity parameter calculated for you by sellerboard. Sales velocity is basically how many units you are selling per day of a specific product. And if you click on it, then you will see some of the parameters on a product level that make it possible to calculate this metric. Then you have your days of stock left, which is basically how many days you still have stock for to maintain sales. And you have your days until next order. So when would it be a good time to place a new order for a specific product? Then you have the number of units you have sent to FBA, which didn't yet arrive, but are on the way. And you have information regarding the prep center stock, how many units of product you have at the prep center, and how many units you have placed an order for. These two values from the prep center stock column and the ordered column are entered manually, or you can do it either by hand, import it via an XLS file, or follow the procedure that we have in the purchase orders mechanism. I will display how you can do it in a minute. Then you have your recommended quantity for reordering. This is sellerboard calculating what would be a good quantity to place a new order for each product based on the sales history that you have and based on the forecast that you can fine-tune. Then you have return on investment calculated on a product level and any additional comments you want to place for each product. Besides the metrics already present in the table of the product inventory list, you can also go to the right part of the screen, click this icon, and see additional metrics that you can add, like for instance, another prep center if you're working with several. Or you can also add metrics like recommended shipping quantity and recommended shipping date. These are metrics that we pull from Amazon in order to help you out to avoid the low inventory fee. Additionally, you can also add the historical days of supply to the same table. Besides, let me uncheck these boxes. We can also see the margin for each product from your list and the profit forecast for the next 30 days. Let me return to this sales velocity parameter metric. So this is a parameter that's calculated by sellerboard based on your previous sales history, and it is used to calculate your days of stock left and your days until next order. But additionally, you should input some info that will help sellerboard understand how much time will it take for the product to get manufactured and delivered to your FBA warehouse. In order to do so, you can go to the Actions tab and click Edit. You will be presented with this pop-up window that has several tabs, and we'll start with the Supplier Order tab. So the Supplier Order tab gives you info on how many days you want to have stock for. This is something that you input to really understand how much time do you want to be comfortable with the stock after you receive a new batch of products. Then you can create an FBA buffer. For instance, over here we're telling sellerboard that after we receive a new batch of products, we still want to have 7 days of stock of sales at all times. So this is a buffer we can use just to be safe that we will not run out of stock. Then we will have Manufacturing and Logistics tab. This is a place where you input your lead times. The first field over here is the manufacturing time. So you're basically telling sellerboard how many days will it take for the supplier to produce the product, right? Or get it ready to be shipped out. In this case, 2 weeks. If you are using a prep center, then you would check this box and tell sellerboard that after a product is ready, it is basically manufactured, then it will take 16 days for the product to get from the manufacturer, from the supplier, to the prep center. And then from the prep center to the FBA warehouse, an additional 3 days. So these lead times you have to input because sellerboard must know how much time will it take for the product to go from one channel to another, from one place to another. Another thing that you might want to edit is the forecast fine-tuning options. So the first option is the adjusted sales velocity parameters. This is nothing else than telling sellerboard that, hey, the previous periods have different importance. And right now from the picture that we see here, the last 3 days of sales, this period is marked as the most important one because it has a weight of 0.5. Then the last 7 days of sales are a bit less important because they have a 0.3 value. And the last 30 days have an even lesser importance. They have 0.2 weight. And the last 2 months and 6 months of sales have 0 importance at all. Why would you want to use an adjusted sales velocity parameter? Is because you might have external factors that influenced your sales levels in the past, and you want to exclude these factors from being taken into account while calculating the forecast. Then the next thing you can account for is the seasonality. So if you know the seasonality for your products, you can actually fine-tune it over here. From the pictures that we currently see, we have a seasonal product, and it looks like a back-to-school product because in July, we have a somewhat low demand that spikes in August from 0.2 to 1.5, 1 being the normal level of demand, and then it starts to gradually slow down. So if you want to change that, for instance, we want to say, okay, I have a seasonal product, but it only sells well in the summer. Then we'll go ahead and change this value So for instance, in June, the spike will go all the way up to 0.7. In July, the demand will also be high at 0.5. And in August, let's say it will decrease to 0.3. And in September, for instance, it can go back to 0 or 0.2 just to keep some sales, maybe less than in the peak time. This is just an example of how you can tell sellerboard how seasonality works for your products. And remember, you are doing this on a product level. Additionally, you can say that, okay, we are taking into account the projected monthly growth rate. That means that you can tell sellerboard that as a business, as a whole, you are growing with 3% per month or 5% per month. Then this information will also be taken into account while doing the forecasting. So with all these options, you can, let's review them one more time. First of all, specify how many days do you want to have stock for, create an FBA buffer, then tell sellerboard how many days does it take for the product to get manufactured and shipped to your prep center and then after to the FBA warehouse, so the lead times. And additionally, you can fine-tune the sales velocity parameters, and you can account for seasonality and projected monthly growth. Having all of these parameters set up, you will have your days of stock left calculated for you, your days until next order calculated for you, and then you will be sure that you will not run out of stock because sellerboard will tell you when it is a good time to place a new order. And additionally, over here on the column to the right, you will have a recommended quantity for reordering. So basically, you will know how much would be a good quantity to reorder for a specific product. Remember that you will also need to input information regarding prep center. So how many products do you have in your prep center, and ordered. So how many products do you have currently ordered from your supplier? This way, sellerboard will know that you still have products that you can move from your prep center to the FBA warehouse, or products that are currently in production or on the way. In another video, you will be presented with the information regarding the purchase orders mechanism, which basically gives you the option to create purchase orders and send them out to your suppliers, and then change the status of the purchase orders from draft to ordered and to shipped. And as you change the status of the purchase orders, the information in the inventory planner, so for the ordered column values and for the prep center values over here in this column, will change, because once the product is manufactured, it's no longer ordered. It's then already in your prep center stock. So the values will change as you change the status of the purchase order. Another thing that is cool with the purchase orders mechanism is that you will input manufacturing costs, transportation costs, which will then be applied to your products as the new cost of goods per unit whenever the products will arrive at the FBA warehouse. Now that you know how the inventory planner works and how you can set it up, I hope that it will help you always stay in stock and reorder such quantities of products that you will not be overpaying in long-term storage fees. If you have any additional questions, please reach out to us via the chat inside Sellerboard or via email. See you in the next video. Bye.